I was kind of like the lovable rogue. um, I was just very playful, and I was in his office a few times for being a little bit naughty. And when I look back now, there's a couple of regrets there. But you're young and you think the world's at your feet. You don't think you're ever going to leave Man United. You got into the squad. You're playing with all these amazing players. Gary Neville, was the one that negotiated my new contract. Telling the manager that I'm going to take over him, and so sometimes young, it can get to you.
Just to check, are you in the room for that conversation? So there's you, Gary Neville, and Sir
I was
Alex
in the
Ferguson. That must have been surreal. Like, had you talked to Gary Neville about what you wanted? Does he negotiate with you and then you all go in? Like, how did that all come about?
So what it was is Sir Alex obviously didn't like agents. I didn't have one. So I asked Gary Neville, I was like, what should I do? And he's like, I'll do it. I'll speak to him. So obviously Sir Alex had this little black book with where he thinks everyone should be at the stage of their career. Honestly, he pulls his, it's like, it was just like a little black book with everyone's wages in, pulls it out of his drawer, and he just starts writing things down and says where he thinks you should be. And then obviously Gary Neville's been through this process, God knows how many times at this point. And yeah, he says, well, can't we do, a little bit more on the signing on fee, boss? He needs to get a place to stay, he needs a car. And I'm just sat there quiet as a mouse. and then whatever got agreed, I was obviously happy to sign.
So do you agree that when Gary Neville thinks, yeah, I probably got the best deal, does he turn to you and go, what do you think? Or does Gary make the agreement for you?
Yeah, I think I'd obviously got offered something on an official piece of paper, and he went into me negotiate. So whatever got bumped up, I wasn't then going to go, no, I want to bump that up again. So obviously, yeah, I was just, obviously then it was, okay, that sounds good to me. Let's go. Let's sign.
And was he doing that for lots of people?
I think he did for a couple. Like I said, you see Gary Neville now on TV. He's exactly how he is. He would get involved. He'd get called busy, so to speak. But he was just literally a Mr. Man United. He just did everything, tried to help everyone. He understood, obviously, young lads because he went through the process himself. So that was just the type of person he was, and it was just in his nature and to get involved.
So talk to us about your debut and becoming and feeling like you're part of the team.
Yeah, I think when you finally get into the first team squad and you got all those players, and there's this moment when they do rondos, the boxes, and there's a young box and an old box, and you're in a box with, Rooney, Ronaldo, Tevez, PK. PK was one of the best players in the box, by the way, for a centre back, and Fletch, etc. And it's just sometimes like a moment where you're just like, wow, like these are some top players. And I'm getting to learn off these. So yeah, just being in the squad and training with them and traveling with them for me was amazing. But then to actually get, to play in the Premier League for the club and at Old Trafford, and it's just a dream come true. And I think now, I don't know if people appreciate it as much now as they used to back then. But to get that first game for that club and the way the club was at the time with the players, it was very special. Now when I look back, it means a lot more now than it did then, because of, where Man United are now and where they were then. So to get a debut then and get some games in that squad was I think was pretty special.